Cowboys were punished in a lot of ways last year in that playoff game. And it gets us to the biggest weaknesses that the Cowboys have going into this upcoming year. And I want to start on the defensive end because I found this, article very interesting from Chris Arnold's very favorite publication, Alec Medford, Bleacher Report. You know how much Chris Arnold loves Bleacher Report.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he can't stand Bleacher Report. He just despises it.
Okay. So that was, never mind.
Yeah, he just despises it.
Gotcha.
No, like literally, like he hates it.
What they do to him?
I don't know. He just doesn't get down with what they do.
Okay.
You should listen every now and then on Sunday when we, do the show.
Sometimes I be asleep. I be going to church too.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
You see what I did there, man?
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
He can't argue with Jesus.
Nope, can't do that. Can't for real. The run defense was bad last year. This is a run defense last year. They gave up 4.5 yards per carry. That was 23rd in the NFL, but they got really bad as the season went on. Did you know, Alec, that the Dallas Cowboys last year gave up 130 yards per game in the final 10 games of the regular season last year?
Is that good?
Nope.
It's not.
It's not good at all.
It's not good.
And in fact, of course, in the playoff loss to San Francisco, they gave up $149 to the San Francisco 49ers. That run defense, Reg, has to get better. And I think it is one of the glaring weaknesses of this Cowboys team going into this training camp of 2022. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I would be foolish to be like 130 yards a game. Nah, keep that thing going. It'll be fine. No, yeah, that's clearly an issue. And it starts with your nose tackle play, having Neville Gallimore, hopefully a progression from Osa Odigizua up the middle. Hopefully that helps. The problem that I have is that you then look at what's the next level of defense, particularly when we're talking about run stopping. Your linebackers, and the only one that anybody feels any particularly good about is Micah Parsons, right? Who are your other linebackers here? And of course, like, base defense hardly gets played at this point, so you're not necessarily needing 3 linebackers out there at any given point. But who are your other 2 linebackers here? You're going likely with unproven Jabril Cox,
which you're hoping he comes back healthy from the torn ACL he suffered last year.
And speaking of health, Leighton Vander Esch, ladies and gentlemen, right? Like, so, and on top of
model
like just
health and consistency,
health concerns with Leighton Vander Esch. Leighton Vander Esch is not the same player. We haven't seen him be the same player as we did his rookie season, right? Like, that effectiveness hasn't been there in the same way. Maybe you've had some flashes of it at times come back, which I guess is encouraging. But you need him to be. You need him to be more than just decent still, as what we saw from Swaggy Booties. So I would love to say that I feel good about that. I have real questions that this team will continue to be, or will be able to get that together in being good on stopping the run.
You remember that one time when Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith were going to be the cornerstones of this franchise at the linebackers position? You remember that?
Are you bringing up old stuff?
That felt so long ago. Because what has transpired from then until now, there really hasn't been much consistency at that position until somebody named Micah Parsons showed up last year and changed the whole trajectory of how this thing is going to look. But as you mentioned, who else is really going to come with him in that way to be able to provide that kind of same consistency that Micah did last year at the linebacker spot? I have real questions about Leighton Vander Esch, as you mentioned. Jabril Cox.
They're just question marks, right?
There's just question marks all over that linebacker room.
Here's the thing, right? And this is where you have to, I guess, have optimism. And this is the time of year where it's hope, right? And then we'll get into training camp and people will play. You'll do well against your own team, and then everybody be like, "Nah, I feel great, and let's go play the season," right? But when it comes to making sure that you have that movement, maybe these guys can come out and prove these questions or answer these questions, right? Maybe Jabril Cox comes out and you're like, yep, that's what we drafted him for. Cool. It fits. It works. Maybe Leighton Vander Esch, who, again, was decent. Maybe he comes out and it's like, all right, that's consistent, and we see an uptick in the quality. And maybe he's reading things well and moving well laterally, which I know at times started to be a little bit of an issue for him. And then you go, cool, not a problem. But those questions are reasonable to be there right now. And all you're doing right now is hoping that they come out and play well. Like, there's not any other resolution besides that, I think.
Yeah, and I think you started to allude some of it when it comes to the solutions of what this will be for them to fix it. And it's going to be up the middle. It has to be Neville Gallimore. It has to be Osa Odigizua. It has to be Tristan Hill. In some ways, it has to be Quentin Bohanna. They have enough guys, you would think, based on the way they've drafted over the last...
forgetting Quentin Bohanna.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, that they've got these guys that you're hoping take the next steps in order to improve the interior of that defensive line, not just for the sake of the run game, but for DeMarcus Lawrence to be able to get back out on the edge and do some things and getting after the passer a little bit more. But more onto the other side with the rotation of Sam Williams, Dante Fowler Jr., Dorrance Armstrong, getting those guys opportunities to get home, because your ability to get home to the quarterback can help take some of that pressure off of your interior. But they've got to be able to stuff the run a little bit better than what they did last year. But they've got the guys I think they believe can do it going into this upcoming year. They have to take the next steps in order to prove the Cowboys right that they invested in those guys going into this upcoming year and beyond. Offensive line for me is next when you talk about the weaknesses of this team going into this upcoming year, because let's face it, there's a lot of hopium being,
he said hopium,
put right now.
All right.
When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, because
are you proud of that one? Are you proud of that one?
I mean, I thought it was good.
Okay.
I
just wanted to evaluate in the moment.
I felt good about it.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like you didn't like it, but that's okay.
I just wanted to stop down and have a little heart to heart about that one. And if you feel good about it, I'll let it ride.
I mean, I feel like that's what we all are on at times with this team. A lot of hopium. Right? No, when it comes to this Cowboys team, but I digress.
Technically correct. Yeah, I got you.
We got an 8-time Pro Bowler in Tyron Smith, who's played what? As many games as you and I, it feels like, over the last couple of years.
Oh, don't do that to Tyron. I mean,
well, look, he hasn't played a full season since 2015.
That's fair.
And he missed 20 games over the past, 2 seasons. So you're going to bank on Tyron Smith missing, a few games throughout the course of a year. My man, Tyler Smith, has got to show up and show up big on this offensive line. Because there's a scenario, gentlemen, where we could get to the end of the season where I hope that Tyler Smith is your starting left guard throughout the course of the year. We may be talking about Tyler Smith as your starting left tackle by the time we get to the end of this year.
At times, and that's
or maybe by the time we get to the year, because Tyron's not playing because he's hurt.
Right, and that's assuming that you're in a place where you feel good about Connor McGovern sliding in, and probably you feel better about Connor McGovern sliding in than Josh Ball playing on the edge.
Because I don't feel good about Ty Nsekhe playing over there left tackle. Nope. That's not what I want. Not at all. Rookie, you're going to have to get it.
What's the other dude? Well, let's go. Is that his name?
Well, let's go. Matt, well, let's go.
I'm glad I got that right on the first try.
Look at you.
I'm not going to give myself any credit for it because it was a guess.
That's where you take all the credit for it because, you act like you know it.
I don't need it. I get enough credit for the stuff I got right.
Well, excuse us.
No, but you're right. The offensive line ends up being a thing. And Tyler Smith is already in a place where, do people feel good about Tyler Smith at guard? Because I'm in a place where I feel comfortable. Of course, I feel
better now.
I haven't been in a place to see anything real, right? Like they ain't put on no pads or nothing, right? But knowing that he has the athletic ability has always been cool. You're in at guard, and I guess the idea is you can only do so much damage in there at guard, particularly if you have the athletic ability. But the problem for him was always like the polish of the technique. And you're throwing him right in there, right? You are immediately in there to figure out what you're doing in there. So, hey, maybe it'll be fine, but you had a lot of problems at guard for various reasons. One of them being from your previous starting guard, Connor Williams, when he was holding all these people.
And guess what? You drafted a dude who had the same damn problem that Connor Williams did when he was in college because he couldn't keep his hands off people when it came to holding penalty.
Now, part of that was he was playing tackle. And in tackle, you out there, right? You out there and the technique's got to be great. Maybe as guard, you're a little bit further inside. Like technically.
And he's going to get better coaching in the NFL. Like I think he'll be able to clean up that stuff. I say that tongue in cheek because I think he'll be able to clean that up here at the next level.
I think he'll be able to clean it up over time. But you need him to be good.
Like you need him to be in your starting left guard now.
And that's the thing, is that what is that learning curve for him and what does it end up looking like? On top of the fact that he's playing next to a guy that you weren't all that solid on. And
the dude to the right of him who may not even have his job by the time we get to the start of the 2022 season.
So, yeah. Offensive line definitely has some interesting things that you have to, I guess, get on the hopium about, although we should not be over here. We shouldn't be endorsing any levels of narcotics, KG. I thought you were better than that. Well, you have a child at home.
First of all, what does my kid got to do with this?
You're a father.
Nothing.
You need to be a responsible role model.
I've been on this hopium for the last, how old am I? 35 years. Because I was born into this, okay? Third generation Dallas Cowboy fan supporter. Blood, sweat, and tears for this organization, okay? I digress.
And maybe the offensive line, maybe it could be better with better play calling and design. Also,
well, because if nothing else, the way that this offensive line is going to have to be improved this year, it's going to have to improve enough to help you think that Ezekiel Elliott can have a good year bouncing back as well and Tony Pollard being effective in this running game. Because what we saw last year, when this offensive line was not good and this running game got stagnant, teams started to disrespect the hell out of you because they knew that you couldn't run the football, which means we're going to put more people back in coverage, which means Dak Prescott's kryptonite became cover 2, and for Kellen Moore, they couldn't solve it during the second half of the year. And this offense sputtered the way that it should not have based on what they were seeing on the football field, because cover 2 shouldn't get you when you're 6-7 years in the league.
Well, I mean,
it just shouldn't at this point.
There's a really interesting breakdown on the Vic Fangio defense as it's spread through the league that eventually we're going to have to talk about, because I think that there was a really good job done on it, and now I've already forgotten who the actual author was of it, but it's in The Athletic, and we'll have that conversation, I'm sure, at some point.
Finally, the last weakness going into this upcoming training here for the Dallas Cowboys is a position that has to be a strength because of who they decided to let go at that position.
Uh-oh.
And it's wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb is now stepping in as the number 1 dude on this team, the alpha male number 1 wide receiver on this team. And he is going to have to be the pass catcher that the Cowboys believe that he is when they drafted him at number 17 overall, and felt like he could eventually replace Amari Cooper as the number 1 guy on this team. But the guys behind him right now, an unproven rookie in Jalen Tolbert, a James Washington who at best has been inconsistent in this league, and then a guy in Michael Gallup who, of course, is coming off a torn ACL, and you don't know how good he's going to be coming back off of that injury. Not to mention Simi Fehoko and Noah Brown, really unproven guys, obviously, in this league. So wide receiver depth right now, which was, I think, a strength going into last year, not that case anymore.
That's fair. And I think that it might be more fair for us to include like the entirety of the receiving core than just to talk about the wide receivers, if you get what I mean. Because there is a little bit of stability in having Dalton Schultz there. And I'm not here to have the conversation about his contract negotiations or anything, because why would I do that?
Because who wants to get charged up about that?
Right.
Some more?
But there is, everybody has to acknowledge that there's a clear...
Acknowledge me.
What?
Oh, never mind. Sorry about it. Wrestling.
Never mind.
Wrestling reference. Sorry. Sorry about that.
He talking about Roman Reigns and such. Yeah, see, I know what you're talking about.
See, he knows.
But no, you have to acknowledge the fact that there is a clear relationship between Dalton Schultz and Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott feels comfortable there, right? You can attack the seams in some ways with Dalton Schultz. So that does add to this. But no, you're right? Like you're going to miss one of these guys for probably about 3 games in Michael Gallup, if not more, right? That we're anticipating what the recovery time is on that. Again, you've got a guy who is a rookie to this league and needs to get comfortable with it. Last time he played, he was playing Sun Belt football. Not to shade the Sun Belt, but we do not know if that's going to be an automatic adjustment. But one of the things that gives me a little bit of solace is I was listening to the Mina Kimes show. Mina Kimes and Nate Tice, both very good football folks. And one of the things that they were talking about with the wide receiving core and why the way that this receiving core has changed doesn't worry them as much as it seems to worry a lot of people around these parts is that there was a little bit of overlap in capabilities when it came to what you had with the wide receiving core. You had an abundance before, and some of that, like some of the abilities that you had were overlaps. And so you lost Amari Cooper, but some of that ability you still get from what you have on this receiving core. Of course, it's just the levels to which you get those things done. And that's going to be a big, big question. It's a real big thing to see in this season from the Dallas Cowboys.